So, you know how, according to the input and sworn testimony of many hundreds of conservative demagogues who don't study the subject, transness is a social contagion? You've heard this, right? So, might be an issue with that narrative. According to a new trans demographic survey coming from Sweden, it looks like the prevalence of transgender people might be leveling out. See, you have pretty low numbers for a while because we hadn't invented trans people yet. And then, right around 2000, I guess 9/11 was when trans people were invented. I thought it was later, but whatever. And then it goes up, 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 up. And then it's gone down and seems to be leveling out quite a bit. Now, there are two narratives that you can take from this. One of them is that any big demographic shift like this is going to have a rubber banding effect, and that what we're looking at is a leveling off of the rate of transness. You might notice these numbers are incredibly small, by the way. Down here, we have trans women and trans men by both diagnosis and legal change. So the solid line is diagnosis, and the lighter one below it of the same color is legal change. So you've noticed for all of them, we go up and then boom. The biggest jump and then subsequent decline seems to be in transgender men and their diagnosis. Interestingly, the legal change has leveled out quite a bit more than the diagnosis, which has seen a decrease. Now, again, there are two big, fell off, exactly. There are two big takeaways from this. One argument, the argument that the conservatives are going to make, is that this is an example of how it's a social contagion, that it went up in popularity, but now it's decreasing in popularity. There's always going to be a rubber banding effect for literally any new social phenomena, whether it be, racial demographics, identification as to being gay or whatever, or being trans. Because as things become more prominent, you do see that whiplash as people sort of work through uncertainty. It's kind of like how all women are bisexual in college, There will always be a period of time during which a period of exploration allows more people the opportunity to consider themselves this or that, and that might level out with time. And in fact, it has. We have the data now, at least very early data. It's one study, admittedly. Notice, by the way, how small these population proportions are. Look, this is right down here. We have trans women legal change. That is 5 people per 100,000 in a year. That's not a lot. Again, this is the crazy social epidemic that everyone was talking about. This is the massive, cataclysmic, taking over everything, taking over everyone, blah, blah, blah. This is what people were worried about. Now, you might notice that these only refer to diagnoses and legal change. That means that everyone here, this is the purview of going to a doctor, right? So if a person is non-binary but isn't interested in any kind of transition or legal change, they wouldn't be represented on this chart. We were exclusively talking about sort of medically recognized transness. Now, I think the idea that this is an indication of a social trend whiplashing back down is bullshit. I think that this is, in all likelihood, much more indicative of that left-handedness graph that we've seen. That in reality, even though all social standards, like being gay or straight or trans or cisgender, are subject to social forces and can change with time. For example, I think it's entirely possible for cultural shifts to mean that there are now more authentically gay people or less than before. That's how society is. People change. That's how life works, However, in reality, this is not an infinitely fluid dynamic. No matter what, no matter how society is oriented, some guys are always just going to be gay for pussy. And there will be some people, presumably, who remain gay for dick or whatever. There's always going to be some kind of balance. And likewise, the majority of people, as long as we have a gender binary, are probably going to remain cisgender for convenience's sake, if nothing else. So the idea of this being an epidemic of any kind is, as it always was, just Nazi rhetoric. It's Nazi rhetoric. Never forget, okay? First of all, rapid onset gender dysphoria was a term made up in a single paper where they got that term from interviewing transphobic parents of trans teens from transphobic websites, forums, Bullshit term to begin with. But they took it and they ran. The idea of progressivism or of degenerate sexual or social identities being an epidemic is just early Nazi rhetoric. It literally is what they said about homosexuals and transgenders too. So it's not new. I just think it's interesting that we're finally seeing this rounding off, you know? Now, obviously, as a gender abolitionist, I think that given the right set of social circumstances, these numbers might blur further, and eventually, you know, everyone would be some kind of non-binary or whatever. But that's a very, very long-term, like, in the future, we won't have cars kind of thing. You know, it's not exactly indicative of current trends. That's a different set of beliefs and positions. I don't mean to use this as an example that only, like, I don't know, 0.1% of people are naturally trans, because I don't think anybody is naturally trans or cis or whatever else, because gender is a social construct, therefore sexuality is too. There can't be a naturally there. Wait, don't you believe in trans people in a perfect society? I don't believe there is a perfect society, but in a gender-abolished society, there'd definitionally not be any transgender people. There wouldn't be any gender for them to trans. You can still get their dick turned inside out, or vice versa if they want to, though. Yeah, it's just nice affirmation that we're always right. Well, this is just one study from Sweden, Crystal Firex, and Republicans are nothing if not persistent, so I'm sure they're still going to bring it up, but I don't know how effective it's going to be. To an extent, Esmilia, though I think that's subject to social conditioning as well. The return to good old faithful. Transsexual, Garrett Main. Is it offensive to become increasingly gay, or is a straight man being straight is so boring? Wrong. Being straight isn't boring at all. Acting straight is boring. But you can defy those trends, okay? You can be a cool straight guy. You know who's cool and straight? Gomez from the Addams Family, right? There are lots of guys, straight guys, you know? Joe Cat's cool. Yeah, there's lots of ways that you can be a cool straight guy. You know, yeah, don't let sexuality be your personality the way gay people do. Am I right, fellas? Believe in yourself. Do you think the drop could be caused by conservative advocacy? I don't believe so. But we need more data. Ooh, he's wiggly. He wants to be free. Is that a... You know how many Artemis you could buy with $500? Infinite. We found him in a tree. Hey, gotcha. Artemis. He's heavy. He's like 3 times as much as Ruben.